welcome to my channel. This is Ashley. Today we're going to be learning how to make this simple, cute looking beaded slippers, and it doesn't take much to do. Actually, you're just going to need your pair of slippers and you're going to need your beads. I'm using two color beads, white and then green. They are both 5mm beads. So, and then my 0.3 thread and a needle. You're going to need a plier, a scissors, and then a blade, and then some C beads of any color of your choice. Actually, all the beads you can use any color of your choice, but I'm using these colors because they match with the slippers that I'm using. So like most of the bead works that we do, we're going to use the same process for this one too. So we'll be starting with 4 beads and then 3 3 3, that process. That's what we're using, guys. So you start with 4 beads, sorry, so 4 beads, and then we'll continue with 3 3 3. So basically we're going to be making a chain of 3 3 3 beads. So make a knot and then secure it. Now I'm going to pass my needle through a couple of beads to make sure that I hide my knot in between beads, and then I can cut off my excess thread. Remember guys, if you don't cut it off, it worries you when you're working. It tangles up your thread. So remember to cut off your excess thread, and that is what we usually need the blade for, just cutting off the excess thread. So you can use a cutter if you have one. So we're just going to be continuing with 3 beads, 3 beads, basically making a chain of 3 beads. Now in this first part, we're going to make a chain of 16 3 beads. I don't know if it makes sense. So 3 beads like this counts as 1. So we're going to make 16 of that. So we're going to make a chain, and the chain is going to be a total of 16 3 beads. That way, so you're going to continue adding up like that until your count is up to 16. So this is my 16th one. So we've been working straight all along. So now that we've gotten to the 16th one, we're going to be working sideways. Oh yeah, sideways. So once you get to the 16th one, instead of continuing from the top bead, you want to work in with a side bead. So you send the needle to the closest side bead to it, and then you continue adding 3 from there. So this is my side bead from here. Sorry, tangling up thread. So I start with 3, and then I'm just going to continue with the same process, making chains of 3 beads. But instead of 16 like we did the other side, this side we're going to be doing 15. So 15 chains of 3 beads. That's what we're going to be doing. So we're going to get that V shape. That's the aim. The aim is to get that V shape. That's why we continued working with the side bead instead of the top bead. So this is what we're looking at. So this side is supposed to be for 15. So we're going to stitch the 15 to the inside parts of the slippers and the 16 to the outer part of the slippers. So if you know how to stitch, you can just skip through this part to when the stitching is done. If you don't know how to stitch, to just stick through. I'll just stitch the first 2 beads for you to see how the stitching is done. So I'm going to join my needle and thread from a couple of beads from where the stitching is going to start, so I can hide my knots before I get to where I'm starting the stitching. Sorry. So this is where I'm supposed to start my stitching. So I join it this way, and then I put the needle and then break it down. And this is why you need a plier, guys, just for the stitching part. If you're using a bigger needle, you don't even need the plier to push it. You can just push it with your fingers. But I'm using smaller needles, so I'm picking the needle back up to the opposite side of the same needle. Same bead. Remember, stitching is done between same bead. So you stitch it down from one side of the bead, stitch it up to the other side of the bead, and then you pass it through to the next. So I'm passing it through to the next middle bead, and then remember too that stitching is supposed to be done between middle beads, because that's on the slippers and it hides the thread from being visible. I don't know if it makes sense. What I'm saying makes sense. So I stitch down from the other side of the bead and then up to the opposite side of it, and I pass it through the same bead to the next middle bead. So just do that, guys, till you get to the end. So this is my last bead, middle bead. So I stitch down from this side, and then I'm going to stitch up to the other side of the same bead, that way, and then I pass it through the same bead, and that is it. So now I have to pass it through a couple of beads and then make a knot, and then hide my knot in between beads and cut off my excess thread. So go ahead and do the same thing for the other side, guys. Stitch along like that through middle beads. So I'm done with my stitching. I've stitched both parts, so we'll continue with the ending part of the slippers. Now I need my needle to be in the middle third bead, that one. So I'm going to join my thread from a couple of beads away from it, so I can hide my knots before I get there. Hiding your knots before you get to your working bead makes your beading very secure. So I'm going to pass it through a couple of beads before I get there. So before you get there, your thread is already secure. It doesn't make your beading loose. It makes it tight. So 3, this is the third one. That's where I'll be working it. So I pass my bead needle through it, and then I start adding 3 more beads to that point, that way. So basically, like we started, we're just going to be adding 3 more beads, because right now we're making another chain. We're making a chain of 13 3 beads. So you're going to be adding 3 beads like that until you get to the 13th one. Remember, 3 beads count as one chain. So now we're going to make a chain of 13. So continue that way until you get to the 13th one. So there should be my 13th one. So this is how it's going to look like, guys. When you're done with the 13th one, remember the 13th, you start counting from the first 2 that is already stitched on the slippers. So basically, you just add in 11 to the first 2 that is already stitched to the slippers. I don't know if you understand that. So I'm just passing my needle through a couple of beads to hide my knot. There, I made my knot, and then I'll hide my knot, and then I'll cut off my excess thread, and then we'll continue with the C bead. So this is the part where the C bead comes in. This part you want to line your thread as long as you can handle, because you really need a very long thread for this part. If not, you have to be joining it along the way. So as usual, I'm starting it a couple of beads away from where I want to start my work. So this is where I joined it. I'll pass it through a couple of beads to get to where I'm starting my work. There. Now you start with your C bead. So you pick a C bead, pass through one bead, pick another C bead, pass through another bead. So you basically just filling in the gap in between beads with C bead. So you pick a C bead, pass through one bead, pick another C bead, and then pass through another bead. So you'll be filling in the gaps that are between the beading that you make. That way, and then pull it up that way. Not only does it fill in the gap, it makes your, how do I say, your beading very firm. There's no more space in it for it to move, so it makes it very firm. So if you're working and you see it's very firm and then not flexible, don't worry at all. That's how it's supposed to be once you fill it, the gaps. So you're going to just do that all around the slippers. The only place you're going to leave out is the opposite of where you are working on right now. So we're working on the outer side of the slippers. The inside side of the slippers of the same portion you're working on, you're going to leave it out. So you work this way, that way, and up. So now we're done. Almost done. So work this way, all the way down, this way, up, down, this way, and then up the middle chain that we made, leaving out the opposite side of where we started. There. So now from where we started, the opposite side of where we started, we need our needle to be there on the second bead of where we started. So I'm going to pass my needle through all the beads to get there. Or if you want, you can just make a knot, cut off your thread, and then go start over there. But that also means rejoining your needle and thread. So I'm just going to pass it through a couple of beads and get there. Once the C beads are filled in, it's going to be a little bit hard to pass your needle through it. But you just take your time, and then you'll be able to pass it through it. That way. Sorry. I was trying to adjust my camera to give you a very close-up look, but I couldn't do it. Sorry, guys. So you start with a C bead, and then you fill it, first one. And then you fill another 2 seed beads, one green. This is where the green comes in. 2 more seed beads, and then you pass it to the second bead on the second chain that you made in the middle this way, and then 2 more seed beads. Pass it to the green bead like that. 2 more seed beads, and then you pass it through the same bead that you started with, getting a crisscross design like this. There. So you get a crisscross design. You pick another C bead, filling in the gap between the next bead, and then you pick another seed bead, fill in the next gap, because you are leaving out the first bead and working on the second bead. That way you have spacing between your crisscrossing. So leave out one from both sides and then you work in the second one from both sides. So 2 seed beads, 1 green, 2 seed beads. Your needle is already at the second one right now, so you join it to the second one of the middle chain this way, and then 2 more seed beads, pass it through the green, 2 more seed bead, pass it through the same bead that you just started the crisscross on, this way, 2 more seed beads, and then that way. Two, and then you go that way, so you get another crisscross. So that's how you're going to be working through it, getting your crisscross. You pick 1 seed bead, fill in the gap, another seed bead, fill in the gap, and then you start with 2 seed bead, 1 green, 2 seed bead. So basically you're leaving out one and working on the next one, leaving out one and working on the next one, leaving out the one white bead, sorry, you leave out one white bead, work on the second one. So this is how it's done. So you see I have 2 white beads left, so I'm going to leave out the first one, this one, and then work on the other one. So I'll pick 2 seed beads, 1 green, sorry, 1 green, and then 2 more seed beads, and then I'll work on the last white bead, leaving out the other one. So that's how we've been working it all along. You leave out one, work on the other one. So you pass it through like this, and then you pick 2 more seed beads, pass it through the green, pass it through the green like that, and then 2 more seed beads, pass it through the same bead that you started your crisscross on. That way, and then you are done with your crisscrossing, guys. So you're just going to pick seed beads and then fill up the remaining gaps that are left. So now we left about 3 gaps, so we're going to fill all of them with seed beads, and then we can now make a knot, tie our knots, hide it, and then cut off our excess thread, and then we'll basically, that's it. So that's it, guys. I'm just going to pass my needle through a couple of beads and then make my knots and hide it. And then easy, simple slippers is done. Cut off your excess thread, and that's it, guys. So go ahead and do the same thing for the other slippers. I went ahead and did it off camera, so that's it. So this is how it looks like. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I appreciate it.